President Nixon talked about the Watergate scandals last night at a Republican fundraising and dinner in Washington, where he was given a standing ovation. The dinner didn't make as much money as the Republicans had hoped, and part of the reason for that is Watergate. Here is some of what the president said last night.
Let me say, I didn't get where I am by ducking tough issues. And I believe that I can assure you that we will get to the bottom of this very deplorable incident. But the most important thing I want to say tonight is this. We are not going to allow this deplorable incident to deter us or deflect us from going forward toward achieving the great goals that an overwhelming majority of the American people elected us to achieve in November of 1972. Remember that when the going was tough, you hung in there. Remember that when the challenge was greatest, you didn't lose your faith. And if some of you think that, why does this kind of challenge have to come to us? Why do we have to endure it? Let me remind you that the finest steel has to go through the hottest fire.
The Republicans got some bad news this morning. The latest Gallup poll, taken just before the president made his Watergate speech on television, shows that 13% of the Republicans polled say that because of Watergate, they will be less likely to vote Republican next time. And even more important to the Republicans, who need support from independents, 27% of the independents say they feel the same way. Republican governors are holding a meeting in New York City, and the poll was just one more piece of unwelcome news for them. Paul Udell covered their meeting today.
None of these governors can afford to ignore the impact of the indictments and the Watergate case on Republican fortunes in their states. So despite agenda topics like the energy crisis and new polling techniques, the scandals were very much on the governors' minds. Party Chairman George Bush showed up to voice the line that the governors themselves have been taking. Bush's speech was an attempt to disassociate the party and its candidates from those indicted and under investigation. After the speech, Bush talked with reporters.
Yes, I continue to say the party's not involved.
And it does not have an effect on the party's credibility?
It doesn't show up in the polls, doesn't show up in the events that are happening across the country. And let's come out wrong. Let me reiterate the fact that I personally feel deeply troubled by the allegations and the revelations about Watergate. So do Republicans. It's those of us who have gotten involved in the political process that don't want to see it sullied. But that does not mean it's the death of the Republican Party.
It is a safe bet that these Republican governors would like to see the Watergate and the Vesco cases wound up as rapidly as possible before next year's elections. If they were prime news topics then, that certainly would be no Republican asset. Paul Udell, NBC News, New York.